Could Luke Skywalker actually still be alive? Yes, there is a chance he might still be alive in Star Wars Episode 9. Now, the cast list recently was revealed, and we found out that Mark Hamill is coming back to play Luke Skywalker. And for some reason, people were surprised at this, and I'm not really sure why, because even though he died in Episode 8, we know that Luke was coming back for Episode 9 as a Force ghost. Like, this shouldn't surprise anyone. This should not be a shock no matter what, that even if they had killed Luke off in 7, he is a Jedi, high level. He's going to come back as a ghost, just like Obi-Wan in Star Wars, the first one, A New Hope. So him coming back is not a surprise. As a Force ghost, it makes the most sense. He can show up and torment Kylo Ren, or he can show up and help Rey with her training. There's a lot of things he can do. But I'm talking about the possibility of Luke Skywalker actually being physically alive in the film. Now, I want you to hear me out with this. First and foremost, it really does seem like J.J. Abrams, based on what we've seen, is trying to please the fans. He's trying to fix what Rian Johnson did wrong. Now, some people out there don't think he did anything wrong, which is fine because, again, no problem there. But reality, in the real world, a lot of people don't like Last Jedi. And I think Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams as a filmmaker and as a storyteller has to recognize that. The worst thing they can do is ignore it. They have to address it and see what they can do with Episode 9 to make everyone happy. Now, the one thing that they can't do, which I know a lot of fans wish they would do, is erase Last Jedi. You can't erase the movie. You can't just reshoot The Last Jedi. That poll or that petition is the most ridiculous and absurd thing I've ever seen. I've never heard of a petition actually be successful to where you have a company, a multi-billion-dollar company, remaking a multi-billion-dollar film. Like, it's just, and I know it's going to be a fan project, but like, how? You can't afford Mark Hamill. There's contracts. Like, the whole thing is absolutely absurd. It's just completely absurd. It's impossible. It's literally impossible from a legal standpoint. You'd have to have Disney sign off on it. You don't own those characters. They do. They paid $4 billion for it. It is what it is. Right? That's not going to happen. JJ can't come in there and say that Last Jedi was just a dream. Can't do that. But what he can do is write around what Rian Johnson did. Now, it's obvious, and we've talked about this on several videos in the past, that the original plan for this trilogy was changed by Rian Johnson because J.J. Abrams had ideas for how this series was going to go, along with other people like Michael Arndt. I would assume Lawrence Kasdan has some involvement in that, Kathy Kennedy, but she gave Rian Johnson complete carte blanche to do whatever he wanted. So he goes in there and he essentially does all these things where, he kills off Snoke, kills off Luke, kills off Admiral Akbar, and tries to create this story to move the plot forward. And again, this is not a critique of Last Jedi. I've done so many videos on Last Jedi in the past 6 months or 7 months. It's crazy. This is more so kind of explaining what JJ could do. I'm just giving you the backstory here. So he goes in and he, in some ways, reverses all the, subverts the expectations, reverses everything we thought was going to happen and what JJ planned to change his story. That's fine, whatever. Now JJ Abrams is back directing and writing this film. He can do the same thing. I don't think that Rian Johnson would even care. In fact, in interviews, he's actually said, he's like, you know what, whatever JJ wants to do, it's on him. I made my movie. My movie's done. That's it. And I respect him for that. I actually have respect for Rian Johnson because he has to show that kind of respect to JJ as a fellow filmmaker to say, look, you gave me carte blanche. It would be unfair if I didn't give you carte blanche. You know what I mean? So that being said, how can they keep Luke Skywalker alive? Well, at the end of Last Jedi, he sacrifices himself to help the Resistance escape the planet. Rey and Leia and all them, they all escape because he sacrificed himself by using the Force projection across the galaxy. And then he dies on the rock. He disappears. And then even Rey has the comment about, I felt him go, but he felt like he was at peace and that it was with purpose. But two things. Number one, Rey's ability to tap into the Force, even though she is, for all intents and purposes, a Mary Sue to many fans, is not strong yet. And Leia actually confirms it, that he's gone. But, again, Leia was never really trained. And Leia might not be that in tune with what's going on. That being said, there's a chance, again, this is probably not going to happen, but there's a chance that Luke might not be dead. That it could be possible that something happened, whether it be that he transferred his essence to somewhere else in the galaxy. Maybe he accidentally, without realizing it, found out a way to move his spirit or his body somewhere else, and people can't detect him because he's too far away. I mean, it could be possible, for all we know, that Luke Skywalker is in the unknown region right now. Maybe he tried to use his ability, didn't really know how to use it properly, and then wound up screwing it up and not dying necessarily, but going so far out that Leia and Rey just couldn't sense him. And maybe in episode 9, some time has passed, and maybe Leia or Rey, because Leia's coming back, they realize, wait a minute, I'm sensing Luke. Did he not die? And they could, I mean, for all we know, the first act of episode 9 could literally be the Resistance trying to find Luke Skywalker. Literally, they're I know it sucks that they're going to redo essentially what was the narrative of Force Awakens. It's the same narrative, right? And that would piss people off. But I think if they wrap it up quickly and find Luke in the first act, I think having him be alive again is a possibility. And again, that's just one idea. That's just one theory. It could also be that Luke, they thought he died, but maybe he's still on the island in spirit, and maybe Leia or Rey or someone has to go to the island to, find him somewhere. Maybe he's in the cave. You never know. I mean, you never know what they might actually pull. And I'm not saying these theories are brilliant or great ideas. I literally just thought about them in like 2 seconds. I didn't think much of this, okay? They're probably not the best ideas, I'm not going to lie to you, but they're still ideas that could be utilized, probably with better tweaking, to possibly reveal that Luke Skywalker is indeed not dead. It's very, very possible they could do that and then go from there and then tell the story from there. Or it could just be he's going to be a Force ghost, which to me is the most logical scenario here. Like I said, these ideas I have are not necessarily the best, most well thought out ideas, and I'm not going to claim that they are, because that would be wrong of me to do that. But it is something that is a possibility that he could still be alive, to try to kind of reverse the backlash of what happened in Last Jedi. Maybe Luke will actually die in this film, or maybe he'll just not actually die. Who knows? But I still think, logically speaking, it makes more sense to have him be a Force ghost, because you can't entirely reverse what Rian Johnson did. But this is one way to kind of, please the fans. But then again, some people are probably going to say, well, if you do that, you're taking the power and the meaning away from the sacrifice. And you are. I mean, you absolutely are. But I feel like the sacrifice of Luke was probably the most hated thing about that film, in my opinion. I could be wrong on that. The way that his character was portrayed, and the fact that he didn't even show up to fight. Because I think if he would have shown up to fight and actually been there and kicked some ass, people would have forgiven the portrayal of Luke, because he would have found himself as a hero. And in some ways, he did find himself as a hero. It does make sense what Rian Johnson wrote to a degree. It's just that Luke Skywalker is a sacred character. It just doesn't work with him. He's the Redeemer. So, yes, if they do this, it would, in a way, hurt what The Last Jedi did. It would. It would totally hurt that film. And that might actually, ruffle some feathers with Rian Johnson. It might. Because it was an important plot point of Last Jedi. But then it becomes a question of, are you trying to please the fans? And more so, if you please the fans who liked that Luke is back, are you going to piss off the fans that found so much meaning in his sacrifice in Star Wars The Last Jedi? So either way, no matter what they do, this film, Star Wars 9, is really going to be very difficult. And again, this movie's already been written. So whatever's going on, they already know. This is going to be a very difficult movie to make, because JJ has a lot of things he has to accomplish. The dude has to freaking, create a story that is going to please the fans who hated Last Jedi, the fans who like Last Jedi. He has to bring everybody back on board, and he has to wrap up this trilogy. He has to create an ending that is valid for Rey, for Kylo Ren, for Princess Leia, for Luke Skywalker. He has to create a finality here, and that's really challenging, because as you know, when it comes to trilogies, a lot of times the third one is not as good as the previous ones, because it's hard to wrap up a story. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. And sometimes it is a step down. And it's just very hard because JJ maybe didn't have enough time to develop these characters because he didn't do 8 the way he wanted to. So he might have to rush it in 9. Yeah, it's going to be tough, yo. And I don't think Episode 9 will be a 3-hour movie, even though I kind of wish it was. I always wanted a 3-hour Star Wars. I wanted a Star Wars to be like Infinity War, where it's like 2.5, 3 hours. Last Jedi was, I think, 220, if I remember correctly. But it's still, I still want, and that felt long. But I think the Canto Bight sequence is why. With Episode 9, if you're wrapping things up now and ending the saga, because remember, he has to end not only this trilogy, the entire Skywalker saga, all of it, which tells me that Luke, Leia, and Kylo are probably not going to make it out of this movie. I mean, Luke is a ghost, maybe Leia is a ghost, but that's about it. I don't see how else they can get out of it, but maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see. Maybe Leia will survive. And even though Carrie's gone, that character will live on in novels and things that Carrie does not have to be a part of. So, there you go. Anyways, if you have a better idea to keep Luke alive, to come up with a way to do it, please write it in the comments section. I'm really looking to read some of y'all's ideas, and if there's one that I like, I'll maybe do a video on it and credit you. You know what I mean? If that's okay with you, discuss it and just say, hey, this person said this and I like this idea. Maybe we'll do that. But definitely let me know if you have any ideas about this, and do you want Luke to come back, or do you think his sacrifice in Last Jedi is too important to write over or to retcon? It would be a retcon. That's it. Talk to you soon.